Alright fellas, we're talking god rolls today for Vault of Glass weapons. Now let me just say, some of these are truly in a category of their own. I'm talking S tier, top shelf, best in slot weapons. And really, it comes down to the origin trait that Bungie has given these Vault of Glass weapons with the refresh this season. Now, if you haven't checked out our guide, guys, we've already covered Vault of Glass, how to run this raid again, how to do all the challenges, how to farm effectively. But essentially, every one of these weapons comes with the origin trait Timelost magazine, where final blows with this weapon grant bonus super energy. And when your super expires, this weapon's magazine size is doubled for a long duration and reloads from reserves. Essentially, weapon kills will grant you +1 super energy. And when your super ends, your magazine gets refilled and grants 100% base magazine capacity for 20 seconds. This is a beautiful thing on some of our weapons here, guys, that is dropping from Vault of Glass. Now, before we continue today's video, a word from one of our long-term partners here on the channel. That being our friends over at Factor. Fellas, I hate to admit it, but I am no cook. I can make a grilled cheese, throw on some bacon, but anything outside of that, our cooking skills fall apart. However, thanks to Factor, delicious food is never lacking in my home. That's because Factor delivers fresh, ready-made meals right to my doorstep. These meals are dietitian approved, they're super easy to make, and they only take 2 minutes in the microwave. There's no mess, no cleanup, and this ain't just some cup of noodles. We're talking Parmesan cream shrimp, beef ragu, truffle butter chicken. And the best part is Factor is flexible with your diet and your schedule, and you can choose between over 40 meals and 50 plus add-ons with options ranging from Calorie Smart to Protein Plus to even ketogenic. And at any point you need to pause or even reschedule delivery, it's super easy to manage right through Factor's website. If you'd like to try Factor today, you can visit factor75.com or even click the link down below and use code 50Aztecross, which will net you 50% off plus free shipping on your first Factor box. So let's start with one of the weapons that honestly takes the most advantage of this, and one we recently talked about, Hezen's Vengeance. Now again, with all these weapons, there is the craftable roll that you can get by farming the normal version of Vault of Glass, get red borders. Once you acquire 5 of them, boom, you've got the ability to craft that weapon. But then you got the Timelost version, which is essentially the adept version of these weapons, therefore giving you access to adept mods. Now both are good. I would say that the craftable roll is just a more guaranteed way of locking down what you want, whereas the Timelost version does give you access to those adept mods, and we do know at some point Bungie's going to add more adept mods to the game, furthering their value. With that being said though, let's talk god rolls on this weapon. First up, this rocket launcher is farmable from Gatekeeper, which is our 4th encounter, and also the final encounter, that being Atheon. Now of course your mag perk needs to be impact casing. This increases our impact damage by 10%, which is roughly a 2.2% increase in total damage. Now as for our launcher perks, pretty much hard launch is the way to go. Now let's talk traits here, guys, because there's a lot of crazy things that you can pull off with this rocket launcher. First up, you can do things like bipod and overflow. Overflow states that picking up special or heavy ammo automatically loads this weapon beyond normal capacity. This is going to beautifully synergize with our new artifact mods coming this week, that being Gold from Lead, which essentially grants us heavy ammo when we pick up special ammo, on top of Perpetual Destruction, which essentially gives us the ability to create ammo for our rocket launchers as long as we are getting rapid final blows. Now this only applies to legendaries, but this is beautiful for Hezen's Vengeance. Now overflow and bipod's an interesting one because yes, you do have the ability to load 9 rockets in a single mag. This is with the combination of enhanced overflow plus bipod, which is kind of nuts. Essentially, you hold the rocket, you super, then you put the rocket away, then you pull the rocket back out, then you pick up ammo, and boom, now you have 9 rockets. I will say though, it is a bit inconsistent. We've talked about this already. Personally though, I don't like that bipod hurts my damage. It's not that I don't like bipod. It's fantastic for holding multiple shots, but it does nerf your damage by 25%. But I do see a situation where in certain GM nightfalls, you're gonna be able to run from start to finish, literally shooting rockets the entire time. An overflow on type of bipod is going to assist with that. Now, other combinations that's been really standing out is Envious Arsenal alongside Bait and Switch. Classic combination, guys. A perk that seamlessly loops within itself, as Bait and Switch requires you to deal damage with all of your equipped weapons in order to proc it. And then you have Envious Arsenal, where dealing damage with both of your other weapons refills that weapon from reserves. So you can see the loop here between these two traits. Now we have to acknowledge elemental honing. Now a lot of people say that this trait requires too many hoops to jump through. Essentially, dealing unique elemental damage grants this weapon a stacking damage bonus, capping out at 35% at max stacks, which is even better than that of bait and switch. Now, even though yes, this does require you essentially applying elemental damage from various sources, it's an easier thing to do on prismatic subclasses. And if you watch Balgamon Dog's solo run of the Witness, notice that he was actually using Hezen's Vengeance with elemental honing, and for good reason. It was the origin trait, it was the ×5, and I know someone's gonna say, well, Cross, that's only 5% more damage. Keep in mind, it's not just the 5% more damage, it's the sustainability of it. And when rocking a prismatic subclass, I would say it's much more achievable when it comes to proccing elemental honing. So don't overlook this perk, guys. In combinations like elemental honing, auto-loading holster, if you're cycling to other weapons and doing other damage, that's a solid option as well. So out of everything from Vault of Glass, I would argue and say that Hezen's Vengeance is probably the #1 pick in terms of weapons that I'm looking for. And for my folks asked, Cross, what about Explosive Light? Keep in mind, Explosive Light doesn't increase the damage of Wolfpack rounds. So if you have someone on your fire team using Galahorn, spawning in Wolfpack rounds, Explosive Light will not increase the Wolfpack rounds that you yourself spawn in, which is unfortunate. Now next on the list is Fatebringer, arguably one of the most iconic weapons in all of Destiny, farmable from Templar, as well as the 4th encounter Gatekeeper. This weapon has come back with some amazing rolls, and it's super easy to farm, because Templar, you can literally just like one phase with Lord of Wolves and get Timelost versions of these very quickly. Now you probably noticed some standout trait combinations. You see kinetic tremors, explosive payload, rewind rounds in that third column, with options like One for All, Frenzy, Firefly, and hell, even Magnificent Howl, which is an interesting one considering we have rewind rounds that you can pair with it in that third column. Before we get into those details though, let me go over some of the few roles that I know people were already keying in on. Again, some basics out of the way. I like anything that boosts my origin traits, whether that be Tac Mag or even a Pendant Mag. You could do things like Alloy Magazine if you want, for that increase in reload speed, and pretty much whatever you want as your barrel perk. As far as trait combinations go, I know a combination that many people were interested in on Midnight Coup was Firefly and Kinetic Tremors. You've got Kinetic Tremors, where sustained kinetic damage to a target emits a shockwave. For the enhanced version, that's 5 shots. And then you have Firefly, which of course just gives you AoE damage when landing that precision hit. There's actually no synergy here between the two perks. Not saying it's bad, it's just there's no like direct synergy between the two. Yes, you do have moments where things can overlap, but you also have moments where like Kinetic Tremors is the thing that gets the kill, and maybe you had like a precision shot lined up, but Tremors may have yoinked your kill. With that being said though, Kinetic Tremors and One for All, fantastic. You've got Kinetic Tremors, which will proc that AoE damage, and if it hits multiple targets, boom, you just procced One for All, thus giving us a 35% increase in damage. One of my favorite roles on Blast Furnace, guys, and it's beautiful here on Fatebringer. Not even Midnight Coup could get this, as Tremors was present in the same column with One for All. Now again, if you're not a fan of Kinetic Tremors, you've got Explosive Payload. That essentially nets you 15% more damage inside of PvE, which is very good because you could double stack it with other perks. I'm not a big fan though of Explosive Payload in Firefly, even though yes, that was like the original Fatebringer role. Keep in mind though, because of the splitting of damage from Explosive Payload, yes, it's doing more damage, but it's not doing more precision damage. And if you're trying to proc Firefly, you want precision kills. And if you're in a situation where the payload portion, or in this case, the explosive portion, is actually snagging the kill, you're not going to be proccing Firefly. Now, it's not to say you can't use that. I know some of you are like OG Fatebringer purists, and if you want to go that route, by all means, guys, go right ahead. Now, let's talk rewind rounds and Magnificent Howl. A trait combination that I greatly appreciated on Luna's Howl was Slide Shot and Magnificent Howl. Again, Magnificent Howl states that the number of precision final blows before reloading affects the total rounds granted with increased range and damage. Precision final blows with Magnificent Howl being active extends the effect for additional rounds. Now, the enhanced version of Mag Howl gives it +5 reload speed. Now, let me just say, when we first reviewed Magnificent Howl last year on Luna's Howl, again, the roles that we were looking for, one was like Subsistence with Magnificent Howl, the other one was Slide Shot with Magnificent Howl, and the main reason for that was just so that we can lock down 10 full stacks of Mag Howl. Again, when you score a precision kill, this will give you 1 stack of precision final blows all the way up to a maximum of 10 stacks. And when you manually reload, it converts those precision final blows into magnificent HAL stacks. Now, each shot afterward consumes 1 stack of mag HAL, granting a 50% increase in damage, but precision kills with the buff shot do in fact refund a stack of magnificent HAL. And let me just say, reround rounds assists with that, because as you're getting kills with it, when you get down to the bottom of that magazine and it reloads, boom, it continues to keep going, maintaining those stacks until you run out of ammo. The question is, would you go through all the headache of juggling magnificent HAL, proccing it? Yes, it is 50% more damage, but it's not nearly as easy to proc as say something like One for All, which is like, boom, hit 3 separate targets and you're good to go. Or if you're running and gunning with the prismatic subclass, hell, even elemental honing, which on a kinetic weapon is a 40% damage buff at max stacks. I like magnificent HAL, guys, and I'm not saying that you can't make a play with it for reround rounds. That's definitely synergy present there. But if you want just like more damage and more ease of use, then hell, explosive payload One for All, very good. And that's probably going to be the trait combination most people go for. Now, Fatebringer isn't necessarily one of my favorite weapons for PvP. However, there is a play to be made here for the PvP role. You've got To the Pain, you've got Keep Away. Yes, explosive payload has been pulled back inside of PvP. It doesn't offer as much flinch as it used to, but it's still nice, and it's still one of the go-to traits that I use on Rose. However, in that 4th column, things do get very limited. Precision Instruments doesn't really do a whole lot for 140 round per minute hand cannons. About the only thing that's really going to help you is Eye of the Storm. Now, could you use Magnificent HAL inside of PvP? Yes. And yeah, you can get the 2-tap when you have multiple stacks of Mag HAL, but it's not the easiest thing to pull off. Definitely something you could do inside of 6v6, but inside of 3v3, it's a lot more difficult. I think for most folks, you're probably going to want to use Eye of the Storm alongside Keep Away, Explosive Payload, or To the Pain. But let me also just say, I personally just don't care for the gun model for Fatebringer inside of PvP. Some people do swear by it, but I personally just think Rose is better, especially given the fact that Rose is a lightweight hand cannon. Now, moving on to Praedyth's Revenge. This is a kinetic rapid-fire sniper rifle. Now, arguably one of the most used sniper rifles inside of PvE is the Supremacy. Reround rounds, kinetic trimmers is a disgusting combination. You can also do reround rounds and bait and switch. Hell, you can even get crazy and do something like reround rounds at 4 times the charm and just blow your load forever. However, Praedyth's Revenge, which is farmable from the 2nd encounter, that being the Oracle encounter, as well as Atheon, has some very nasty combinations. From kinetic trimmers to bait and switch, yes, both of those are in 2 separate columns. It has your classic rewind rounds present in that 3rd column, but you can combine it with things like elemental honing or even bait and switch. Now, considering that this is a kinetic weapon, elemental honing is a 40% damage buff at max stacks. Might be a tad bit more difficult to jump through all those hoops, but hey man, I believe. Now, normally I would never go for 2 damage perks together, considering the ammo economy. This is a rapid fire sniper rifle, and you're blowing your load very fast. But we have to keep in mind that we have our origin traits, which after using our super doubles our magazine size. So yeah, you can make a play with this, guys. No lie. If you want to go the more typical routes, whether that be Envious Arsenal rewind rounds with bait and switch or even elemental honing, by all means, you can go that route. But if you want to get crazy and do that kinetic trimmer roll with the damage perk in that 4th column and a mag boosting perk, well, fellas, you can. As someone who has used Supremacy so much, I have a deep respect for rapid fire sniper rifles. And in my opinion, there is a play to be made there, either with kinetic trimmers, elemental honing, or even kinetic trimmers and bait and switch, and just really pop off with damage. We're going to be looking at this more deeply alongside many of these weapons outside of Hezen's Vengeance. I feel like we pretty much nailed what we wanted to know about Hezen's Vengeance. But Praedyth's Revenge, we'll be doing a more side-by-side comparison DPS-wise to other sniper rifles. Up next, we have Vision of Confluence. This is a solar precision scout rifle. I actually feel like a lot of people are overlooking this weapon. It's farmable from the 1st encounter Conflux, as well as Oracles and the 3rd encounter Templar. I remember back in the Destiny 1 days, I used this scout rifle so much. Yes, it's a 180, and I know my PvP players, either A, you don't even use scout rifles, and B, the only time you use a 180 is if it's got box breathing. So probably a good chance you're not going to use Vision of Confluence, which is fine. Yes, it does have Zim Moment and Kill Clip, or even Zim Moment and Explosive Payload. I don't think 180 round per minute scout rifles are going to get a buff anytime soon, at least inside of PvP, but sure, you can make that play. For PvE though, you probably noticed that it has Incandescent and Heal Clip in the same column, which kind of hurts because I do love that combination together. Heal Clip, Incandescent, beautiful synergy, both leaning into solar, but they're in the same column, which makes for some interesting combinations. You can use Incandescent with Explosive Payload, or even Heal Clip with Explosive Payload. You also have Paracosmo Affinity, where final blows of energy types matching this weapon's alignment grant increased damage for a short period of time. Light final blows boost Arc, Solar, and Void. Darkness final blows boost stasis and strand weapons. Now, this is a 20% increase in damage, which lasts for 6 seconds. It's not bad. 7 seconds with the enhanced version, but I just really like explosive payload. And I also like just the combination of explosive payload and incandescent together just for more kabloomies. Outside of that, guys, everything here is pretty typical. Heal clip is a perk though that I do lean into, especially on like day 1 content. When survivability really starts to become a stress, there really is no better perk. Just make sure you have good reload speed. Moving on to our next weapon, we have Corrective Measure. What an interesting machine gun, guys. First up, it's void, it's an aggressive frame, it's also farmable from the first encounter Conflux, the third encounter Templar, as well as the final encounter Atheon. Now, one of the more intriguing combinations that I found, at least on the roll that I got, and this is on my Timelost roll, was redirection and kill and tally. Now, redirection actually got a buff, and this happened at the beginning of Heresy. Essentially, when you hit a red bar, it gives you 2 stacks of redirection instead of just 1, and the stacks will actually max out at 30 instead of 20. And when shooting elite enemies, you actually consume less stacks of redirection than you did before. Needless to say, guys, I landed a redirection killing tally roll, which actually worked out to be pretty good. Essentially, killing tally states that final blows increases the weapon's damage until it's stowed or reloaded. It also improves magazine size, that being the enhanced version. That in combination with the mag boosting perk, as well as redirection, I ran around with the Actium War Rig, essentially maintaining a 30% damage buff at all times with killing tally, and redirection when I have enough stacks, giving me yet another 100% damage buff. Fellas, this was massive. And if you have a means of providing yourself ammo, which we will starting next week with gold from Lev, this was such a good machine gun to utilize with the Actium War Rig. Now, I will say, if you don't have Actium War Rig, maybe something more typical would be better for you. Perhaps destabilizing rounds with killing tally. Reround rounds with killing tally is also good. I also don't want to overlook One for All. That's a pretty easy one to proc on a machine gun. Hell, you can even go crazy with something like Demoralize, which allows your precision final blows to cause nearby targets to become weakened. You can even double stack that with Firefly. Again though, if you're looking for like meaty damage, I mean really meaty damage, yes, you burn through stacks of redirection fast because it's a machine gun. But if you're spraying into a number of ads, you're going to be tagging minor enemies, all the various red bars, and then tagging elites too. And it's during that process that you'll be snagging extra stacks of redirection, enhancing your damage even further. When you've got a machine gun shot landing 10,000 damage per shot, it's sexy. And I think that honestly makes this weapon extremely unique. The fact that Bungie's allowing us to double stack damage perks like that, it's really amazing. And when you have those things really amped up together, it puts out a tremendous amount of damage. This takes us to our final weapon on the list, Found Verdict. Now, I actually don't even have the craftable roll for Found Verdict, and the Timelost version is kind of a pain to get. But essentially, this one is farmable from Conflux, as well as the Oracle encounter and the 4th encounter Gatekeeper. Now, it's an aggressive frame shotgun, which isn't my favorite inside of PvP. I think for PvP, precisions are the king. They just have such good mapping capabilities. And even though, yes, aggressive frames do hit a little bit harder, it's the pellet pattern that makes precision stand out. With that being said, though, you've got slide shots, you've got opening shots, you can max out the range, and you can go crazy with this thing inside of PvP if you wanted to. And if you're crazy enough to farm that Timelost version, you can slap on an adept mod for even more range. Technically speaking, which I wouldn't do rifle barrel, but if you wanted to do rifle barrel plus accurized rounds plus an adept mod with slide shot opening shots, both of those things procs, like if you were to slide and it was the first shot, you're talking a max range shotgun, which is kind of incredible, guys. And to be honest, you probably don't even need to go for the adept version. You could just get the craftable version and you're still looking at somewhere around 94 range with slide shot opening shot proc together, which yes, do stack. Now, we don't necessarily live in an ammo economy world where you could run around with your shotgun almost as a primary weapon. However, we do believe Bungie is reworking the special ammo system, and we think we're going to get the special ammo meter back in the game, which means a lot more special ammo. Like literally everybody will have a lot more special ammo to play with. And in that case, you could potentially see a lobby where someone is running around with their God roll Found Verdict, opening shot, slide shot at max range, and literally sliding from one end to the other, getting kill after kill. Now, I will say this, guys, I'm not a big fan of rifle barrel because it kills my handling. Personally, I would want the adept version, but I would tack on maybe barrel shroud for that increase in handling. Still go accurized rounds with slide shot, opening shot, range masterwork, and an adept range mod. No lie, the RNG on that sounds nuts. Either way it goes, guys, there is a play to be made for this shotgun inside of PvP if you so wish to lose your mind grinding for this thing. Now, for my PvE players, some pretty interesting combinations here, guys. You've got Rolling Storm, you've got Bolt Shot, it's an arc-based weapon. You can lean into that, and you can combine it with either slide shot, hell, even rewind rounds. Discord is also present there, which is really good because once you get a final blow with another weapon, weapon, you essentially get free ammo on Found Verdict here, if you're getting kills. But yeah, I could see myself running around with Rolling Storm Discord, both of these being enhanced. Would I take this over Psychopomp? Probably not. Psychopomp is nuts. But you never know what the future may hold. We may find ourselves with some nasty shotgun artifact mods. And without a doubt, Found Verdict has the arc synergy there. So guys, those are my God roll picks for the Vault of Glass weapons. I'm still farming out a lot of these. I've been heavily focused on the Timelost versions of these, but whether you go for the Timelost version or the regular craftable rolls of these weapons, these are all very good guns, guys. Honestly, it's a shame how overlooked they are. And it's not that I feel like people are purposely going out of their way not to get these weapons. I know there's a lot of spice when it comes to our seasonal weapons. That's been the big focus. But these Vault of Glass weapons are solid options. We'll probably be reviewing some of these individually as we spend more time with them, lock down on the rolls. I know Found Verdict may not sound meta to you, but like I'm envisioning a slide shot elemental honing combination, which no one never thinks about using. But hell, you never know. You might be in a situation where you got to tickle the toes of orcs, and this may just be the shotgun for the job. Guys, if you haven't checked out our guide, we'll have it linked down below. We also have a Discord where folks team up to farm things like Vault of Glass and other things inside of Destiny, so feel free to check that out as well. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.